Hi everybody, it's Kisha from visionarylegacyproject.com. Today I want to talk to you about how to take your life back. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of us, those of us in the film business, I think especially, tend to not really talk about our what I call rock bottom moments, the moments where it feels like the wind got knocked out of us, the soul got sucked out of our bodies, and we were defeated, or we got beaten up in the pursuit of our visionary legacy. And part of the work that I'm trying to do here is to bring some openness into this discussion, because what I've found in talking to people is that a lot of people have the same story. And I'm going to share some of my story and talk to you about my rock bottom moment, actually, and how I crawled out of it, and how you can crawl out of yours if you happen to be in one. So let's talk about it. So, what was my rock bottom moment? So, my rock bottom moment, I had two actually between the end of 2011 and 2013, but I'd say the main one came to me at the end of December 2011. I was at the Dubai Film Festival, which if any of you have been, it's a lovely place to go and be in a very fancy hotel. And I was the sickest I have ever been in my life. So let me back up. But the year that was 2011 for me went basically like this. I was working on a film um, that I was trying to get made basically the whole year. I had a great team, and we worked pretty tirelessly the entire year trying to get this movie done. And what that turned in for me, because at the time I was a workaholic and a perfectionist, I basically was working 16 to 18-hour days. It was a film that was taking place overseas. So, I was waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was not eating. I was going to sleep incredibly late and waking up and doing it all over again, basically nonstop for about 8 months. I traveled in between there as well, and basically let go of myself. I didn't take care of myself. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't focused upon working out or checking in with my body at all. It was all about doing the work, and doing the work and doing the work. And so I also had some crazy personal things jump off in the middle of there, some family obligations that I was responsible for and had to deal with, that also just added stress to my life. I had two major family events as well that went on that just sort of, occupied the pie. I was also separated from my husband. I was back and forth traveling a lot, living in New York, and he was in Chicago, and it was a very stressful time. So all this culminated to actually the film fell apart in spectacular fashion, as they are wont to do from time to time. It didn't happen, didn't greenlit, the money didn't come through, yada yada. That fell apart. And then I felt horrible. I felt guilty. I felt responsible to all the people that I was working with. I took the blame personally, like it was my fault that I didn't work hard enough. I didn't do enough. I failed, basically. And then, just also had some very difficult month after the film fell apart. So then I wound up in Dubai, um, uh, in the bed of my hotel room. I had a 104-degree fever. I was sweating profusely, that kind of weird, funky, clammy death sweat. Um, it was kind of like that. Um, and I knew that it wasn't just that I was sick. I knew that it was that my body had finally manifested, that I basically felt how I was thinking about myself. That makes sense. Like, it was just a physical manifestation of all the really dark thoughts that I was having at the time. So as I lay there on the bed, and they had to change all the sheets at one point, like down to like the down to the actual mattress because I had sweated through the sheets that bad. And I laid back down on the bed, and it occurred to me that finally this was it. I was kind of at the bottom, and I looked up and I said, all right, God, I give up. Clearly I'm doing something wrong, and I'm open. I'm listening. So let me just stop here. So the first lesson I learned that I hope is helpful for you is this. Acknowledge if you find yourself at the bottom of the barrel. First thing to do is to acknowledge that there is a greater power in the world than yourself. Doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it nature, you can call it infinite wisdom, you can call it source energy, you can call it God, you can call it Jesus, you can call it whatever you want. But it is important, I think, when we are flatlining, to lift our soul up for a second and just acknowledge the force in the world, in the universe, that's greater than us, that it's there and that it wants to help. So I did that and got myself back home. And my husband was furious with me because actually on the way back home, the doctor's office called me. I was in the lounge waiting to come back to Chicago and listened to my voicemail, and there was a voicemail from the doctor's office saying, we need you to come in right away when you get back home to the hospital because we got your test results. They're not great, and we need you to come in. So without going down that whole road, I had some health things that my body was basically manifesting, and I had to take care of those right away. So I came back home sick, half dead, needing to run to the hospital. Needless to say, my husband was not pleased. And so it took a few months to deal with all of that stuff, and everything now is fine. I also started to try to get pregnant at the time. And another, efforting perfectionist mandate that I picked up and was had my feet to the gas doing that. And then I did get pregnant, actually, and I was pregnant with twins, come to find out. And it was very interesting because this is around the time where I began to realize, and this is the other point for you, that the interesting thing about our life is that everything in our life experience is a product of our thoughts. This was a realization I started coming to very, very slowly, but it's some of those ideas started. I started becoming more aware of them then. And then I had the babies, actually, and I had kind of another nervous breakdown shortly thereafter. And this was the point where I finally actually got help. I myself got a life coach, an amazing woman named Elizabeth Flock. And this is the other lesson that, especially for those of us who are very self-sufficient, who have always been the one to take care of everyone else, who've always been the responsible one, the one in charge, the one handling the business. So hard for us to get help because we think we can do it. It's fine. I just need a few things. I just need somebody to wash the dishes. I just need somebody to take care of this one thing. But we never stop to actually get help for ourselves. And one of the best decisions I ever made in my adult life was getting a life coach. And she was amazing and helped me started to do my work, what I call my work. So after having that realization that, our life is a result of our thoughts, she helped me start doing the work of changing my thoughts, which is a process, and takes some work and takes some refinement. It also involves the biggest part of it too was that you have to start creating boundaries in your life. And again, this is very tricky for those of us who are used to giving and giving and giving, and we're here to lead and we're here to stay in front. But especially if your mandate, if part of your life's work is to lead others, to inspire others, to be a part of a movement, pull things forward. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot lead. It's impossible. You can do it for a little while, but you'll inevitably crumble under the weight of the very thing that you're trying to do. And creating boundaries, starting to create boundaries, starting to put the focus on yourself, putting yourself first, taking care of yourself, whatever that is, whether it's 15 to 20-minute breaks in between work, so you don't work for 10 hours straight without stopping, which I have been wont to do. Or if it's just looking at all the responsibilities that you have and deciding maybe you want to restructure some of those. Maybe you don't need to make all of these commitments, so that you don't feel so burdened by them. And that's hard for us who are used to giving, and and that's our default. So hard for us to pull back, so hard for us to protect ourselves, but it is crucial and necessary to our own well-being. And so over the process of working with my coach, it took me about 8 months, but I finally listened to everything she was telling me. And I had what for me amounts to a spiritual breakthrough. And what is a spiritual breakthrough? What does that mean? For me, what it meant was that, for the first time in my life, and this may surprise people who've been around me or known me for some time even. In January of this year, 2014, was the first time in my whole life that I actually felt, truly, deeply felt worthy. Just worthy. Just special, unique, appreciated for the wholeness of who I was. Not because of anything that I did, not because of any work that I produced, not because of any thing that I presented, but just because I was breathing, just because I was inhaling and exhaling. It was the first time that for more than 2 seconds I actually felt like I could look God in the eyes and accept the love, the joy, the peace, and all of the things that I knew the universe wanted to yield to me, but I just hadn't felt good enough to receive. And it's part of why I'm doing the work that I'm doing now, is because I really truly believe, that everyone deserves to feel worthy. Everyone deserves to put all of who they are on the table, every single thing, which is part of why working on people's unique talents and the things that are different about us, which tend to be the things that we hide, why it's so important for me to help people claim that part of themselves and put that on the table, because that's part of who we are. And put everything on the table and just say, here I am. I'm enough. And I deserve everything that I want. It's when you can reclaim your own power. It's when you can really connect to the forces that are behind you. Oftentimes we put ourselves in opposition to the universe or to God because we think that we're not acknowledged or seen. But the universe wants us to win. God wants us to have everything that we want, but we have to feel good enough to get it. And a lot of times it's really just us, our own thoughts, our own thinking that's blocking all of the great things that life has to offer. And it's a choice. Um, you don't have to do this work, but for those of us that do, I think it changes ourselves, and it changes the world. And part of what's important to me about people who are in this business, who really have something burning to say, who really have some important work to get out here into this space, that you have to feel good enough. You have to believe in yourself enough in order to do it. Because you may not see, when you look around, anyone that looks just like you, anyone that sounds just like you, anyone that acts just like you, anyone who's making films or writing scripts just like you. Um, and that's okay. That's actually not a deterrent. That means that your voice has a place. That means that no one's doing what you're doing, and that's okay. Um, there's great power in that. And I know people may say otherwise, but I know this to be true. So, um, anyway, so for those of you who might be in, some version of a dark moment or some version of rock bottom, know that there is a way out. That if you acknowledge the greater power, realize that your life is just a product of your thoughts, understand that your thoughts can be changed, that you can think better thoughts and release resistance to the good, that you can speak your worthiness of having all the joy, peace, love, and happiness that you deserve. You can go back into your life, create the boundaries, do the work, get help to do that work. And after all that, you can find your power. And you can live and approach life with what Dr. Brene Brown, I think, calls wholehearted living, which is interacting with the world from a place of worthiness. And I think that's what everyone deserves to have. So thank you for listening. I hope some of this information was helpful. And I look forward to seeing you back here again for some more tips and information. Take care.